Hey everyone, tonight we're stepping into the sandals of one of history's most legendary figures, a Roman gladiator in the height of the empire. I know gladiators might not sound like typical bedtime story material, but the real life of these warriors was far more complex and fascinating than Hollywood would have you believe. These weren't just mindless fighters, but skilled athletes, celebrities, and survivors in one of history's most brutal yet sophisticated entertainment systems. If you're enjoying these journeys into forgotten history, I'd really appreciate a like or subscribe. I'm always curious where you're all listening from around the world, so drop a comment with your location and what time it is there. It never stops amazing me how people fall asleep to these stories from every corner of the globe. Alright, settle into that perfect comfortable position, take a nice slow breath, and feel your body sink completely into whatever you're lying on. We're heading back to Rome in 79 AD, just months before Mount Vesuvius will change everything, and trust me, you're going to see the gladiators' world through completely different eyes by the time we're done. Dawn in the Ludus. Congratulations, you've just woken up in the Ludus Magnus, the great gladiator school of Rome, in the year 79 AD. It's early morning, perhaps an hour before dawn, and you're lying on a simple but sturdy wooden bed in a small stone cell. The mattress beneath you is stuffed with straw and covered with a rough woolen blanket, basic accommodation, but better than what many free Roman citizens can afford. This tells you something important about your status. You're not a common criminal thrown to the beasts, but a trained gladiator, a valuable investment that the lanista, your owner and trainer, wants to keep in good condition. Your cell is small, perhaps 8 feet by 10, with thick stone walls and a single barred window high up near the ceiling. Through that window, you can hear the sounds of Rome awakening, the distant rumble of cartwheels on stone streets, early vendors calling their wares, the splash of fountains that bring fresh water from the hills surrounding the city. But closer, within the walls of the Ludus itself, you can hear the particular sounds of your world, the shuffle of sandaled feet, low conversations in a dozen different languages, the occasional clank of metal on metal as weapons are prepared for the day's training. Your breathing is still slow from sleep. Take a moment now to breathe more deeply, feeling the cool morning air fill your lungs. In through your nose, slowly and completely, then out through your mouth. With a gentle sigh. Your body feels strong and rested, the conditioning of years has made you into something approaching a perfect physical specimen. You sit up slowly, feeling the familiar pull of muscles that have been shaped by countless hours of training. Your shoulders are broad and powerful from wielding heavy weapons, your arms corded with the kind of muscle that comes from constant, purposeful use. Scars crisscross your body, some from training accidents, others from actual combat in the arena, each one a testament to survival in the deadliest profession in the Roman Empire. Standing now, you move to the small wash basin in the corner of your cell. The water is fresh, changed daily by the Ludus slaves who maintain the school. Personal hygiene is important here, not just for health, but because gladiators are public figures, celebrities whose appearance matters to the crowds who come to watch them fight and die. You splash the cold water on your face, feeling it shock you fully awake. The sensation travels down your spine, sharpening your awareness of the day ahead. Today is special, you can feel it in the air, in the particular tension that always precedes arena days. Today, you will fight for your life in front of 50,000 screaming Romans. Your reflection in the polished bronze mirror shows a man in his prime, perhaps 28 years old, with the weathered face of someone who has looked death in the eye and survived. Your hair is cut short. In the practical style of a fighter, your beard neatly trimmed. There's a scar running from your left temple to your jawline, a souvenir from a particularly memorable bout 2 years ago. This is your life now, Marcus of Gaul, though that's not the name you were born with. That name, along with your freedom, was lost 7 years ago when your village was conquered and you were sold into slavery. But gladiator slavery is different from field work or household service. Here, skill and courage can earn respect, comfort, even a form of immortality that free men rarely achieve. The transformation from free Gallic warrior to Roman gladiator happened gradually, through months of brutal training, careful conditioning, and the slow acceptance that this life, however dangerous, offered opportunities that no other form of slavery could provide. You've learned to speak Latin fluently, to understand the complex social dynamics of the Ludus, and most importantly, to fight with a skill that keeps you alive when others die in the sand. Let yourself settle into this reality now. Feel your feet firmly planted on the stone floor, your breathing steady and controlled. This is your world, brutal but also strangely honorable, where courage and skill matter more than birth or wealth, where a slave can become more famous than senators. The morning ritual. The day begins, as all days in the ludus do, with the sound of the horn, a deep, resonant note that echoes through the stone corridors and signals the start of another day's preparation for death or glory. You dress quickly in your simple tunic and sandals, the lightweight clothing that allows for maximum mobility during training. But first, there are the personal rituals that have become as essential as breathing. From a small wooden box beside your bed, you take out a tiny clay figurine, a representation of Nemesis, goddess of revenge and divine retribution, patron deity of gladiators. She's not one of the great gods of Rome, but down here, in the world of sand and blood, she's the one who matters most. You touch the figurine briefly to your forehead, then to your heart, murmuring a short prayer in your native Gallic tongue. The words are simple but heartfelt, a request for strength, for skill, for the courage to face whatever the day might bring. This isn't superstition but practical spirituality, belief in something greater than yourself that can provide strength when your own reserves run low. The prayer finished, you carefully return the figurine to its place and step out into the corridor. The ludus is already alive with activity as nearly 200 gladiators begin their daily routines. The diversity is striking, men from every corner of the Roman Empire and beyond, brought together by slavery but united by the shared understanding of their deadly profession. There's Brutus the Thracian, a veteran of more than 30 arena battles, his body a map of scars that tell stories of survival against impossible odds. Cassius the German, still relatively new but showing the kind of natural fighting instinct that marks potential champions. Ahmed the Nubian, whose speed and agility have made him a crowd favorite despite his foreign origins. Each man nods as you pass, the respectful acknowledgement of warriors who understand that any of them might be dead by sunset. There's no animosity here, despite the fact that some of these men might face each other in mortal combat later today. The ludus creates its own brotherhood, bound by shared danger and mutual respect for the skills that keep them all alive. Your breathing naturally synchronizes with your walking pace as you move through the corridors. In and out, steady and controlled, your body automatically preparing itself for the physical demands ahead. The stone walls around you are decorated with paintings depicting famous gladiatorial contests of the past. Scenes of triumph and tragedy that serve as both inspiration and reminder of what awaits in the arena. The first destination is the communal washroom, where dozens of men clean themselves at long stone troughs fed by fresh water from the city's aqueduct system. The Romans may have many faults, but their understanding of hygiene is far advanced beyond most other civilizations. Clean fighters are healthy fighters, and healthy fighters provide better entertainment for the crowds. The washing is thorough and efficient, cold water shocking the system fully awake, rough soap removing the previous day's accumulated sweat and dust, careful attention to injuries that need tending. You examine a small cut on your forearm from yesterday's training, cleaning it carefully and noting that it's healing well. In this profession, even minor wounds can become life-threatening if they become infected. As you wash, conversation flows around you in multiple languages, Latin, Greek, Germanic dialects, languages from Africa and the East. But regardless of their origins, all these men share the same concerns. The quality of their equipment, rumors about today's matches, speculation about which of them will be selected to fight and in what combinations. From the washroom, it's on to the dining hall for the morning meal. Gladiator food is plain but nutritious, designed to build and maintain the muscle mass and stamina that arena combat requires. Barley porridge forms the base, supplemented with bread, cheese, dried fruit, and occasional meat. It's the diet of athletes, carefully planned to provide maximum nutrition without excess weight. You settle onto one of the long wooden benches, your bowl of porridge steaming in the cool morning air. The hall is filled with the low murmur of conversation and the clatter of wooden spoons against ceramic bowls. Despite the early hour, there's an undercurrent of tension. Everyone knows that arena days bring the possibility of death, and appetites are affected accordingly. Sitting beside you is Gaius the netfighter, a retiarius whose speed and technique with the trident and net have made him nearly unbeatable in his specialized form of combat. He's one of the few men here who chose this life voluntarily, selling himself into gladiator slavery for the chance at fame and prize money that successful fighters can earn. Big crowd expected today, he says quietly, spooning up his porridge with the methodical efficiency of a man who understands that this might be his last meal. Praetor's games in honor of his dead father. They're expecting spectacles. Spectacles. The word carries weight in the gladiatorial world. It means elaborate contests, unusual matchups, the kind of entertainment that wealthy Romans pay premium prices to witness. For gladiators, Spectacles mean higher stakes, both greater opportunities for glory and greater risks of death. You nod acknowledgement of this information, continuing to eat with the same steady rhythm. Your body needs fuel for what's coming, regardless of your mind's concerns about the day ahead. The porridge is warm and filling, providing energy that will sustain you through hours of preparation and potentially mortal combat. Around you, the dining hall gradually fills as more gladiators arrive for their morning meal. The conversations remain subdued but friendly, men sharing what might be their final hours together, offering mutual support in the face of shared danger. There's a camaraderie here that would be difficult for outsiders to understand, forged by the unique pressures of their profession. As you finish eating, your breathing settles into its natural rhythm for the day ahead. Deep and controlled, oxygenating muscles that will soon be called upon for the most demanding physical performance possible. In and out, steady and calm, preparing body and mind for whatever challenges await in the sand of the arena. Training and preparation. After breakfast, the ludus transforms into a carefully orchestrated symphony of preparation and training. Even on arena days, especially on arena days, there are routines to be followed, skills to be honed, and bodies to be prepared for the ultimate test of gladiatorial combat. You make your way to the training yard, a large enclosed courtyard surrounded by covered galleries, where spectators can watch the gladiators practice. The sand underfoot is similar to what covers the arena floor, a practical decision that ensures fighters are accustomed to the footing they'll encounter during actual combat. The morning air is cool but warming as the sun climbs higher above the walls of the ludus. Your breathing deepens naturally as you begin stretching exercises, preparing muscles and joints for the intense physical demands ahead. Each movement is deliberate and practiced, part of a routine that has become as automatic as breathing itself. Stretching completed, you move to weapons practice with your doctors, the professional trainers who have shaped you from raw human material into a finely tuned fighting machine. Your primary weapon classification is Murmillo, one of the most popular and respected gladiator types, characterized by heavy armor, a large shield, and a gladius sword. The Murmillo represents the idealized Roman legionnaire, and fights typically pit you against other gladiator types in matchups designed to showcase different fighting styles and techniques. Today's opponent will likely be a Thraex, a Thracian-style fighter with lighter armor and a curved sword, creating a contest between strength and speed that crowds find endlessly entertaining. Your trainer, an old gladiator named Quintus who earned his freedom through arena success, watches critically as you practice sword forms against a wooden post. His experienced eye catches tiny flaws in technique that could mean the difference between life and death in actual combat. Your shield work is still too high, he observes, tapping the rim of your scutum with his wooden training sword. Against a Thraex, you need to watch for low attacks. Their curved sword can hook around traditional defenses. You adjust your stance, lowering the shield slightly and changing the angle of protection. The movement feels awkward at first, but muscle memory begins to adapt quickly. After years of training, your body has learned to incorporate new techniques with remarkable speed. The practice continues for nearly an hour, working through combinations of attack and defense that might prove crucial in the afternoon's combat. Sword work transitions to footwork, as Quintus guides you through the complex dance of arena fighting, how to move on sand, how to use the arena's dimensions to your advantage, how to position yourself relative to both opponent and crowd for maximum dramatic effect. Because that's what this is, ultimately, entertainment. Deadly serious entertainment where real blood flows and real men die, but entertainment nonetheless. The crowds don't just want to see killing, they want to see skill, courage, drama, and the kind of spectacular combat that justifies the enormous expense of gladiatorial games. Your breathing maintains its steady rhythm throughout the training session. In and out, controlled and deep, keeping your muscles well oxygenated and your mind focused on the technical details that could save your life later today. The morning sun climbs higher, warming both air and sand, creating conditions similar to what you'll face in the arena. After weapons training comes physical conditioning, exercises designed to maintain the peak fitness that gladiatorial combat demands. Push-ups, using your own body weight for resistance. Wrestling practice with other gladiators, grappling on the sand to develop the kind of close combat skills that can prove decisive when weapons are lost or broken. The conditioning work is intense but familiar, your body responding automatically to demands it has met thousands of times before. Sweat begins to flow freely as the sun climbs higher and the exercises become more demanding. Around you, dozens of other gladiators engage in similar preparations, the training Yard filled with the sounds of effort and instruction. Between exercises, you pause to catch your breath and drink from the water station strategically placed around the yard. Hydration is crucial. Dehydration can slow reflexes and weaken muscles at exactly the moments when peak performance is most critical. The water is cool and fresh, drawn from the same aqueduct system that supplies the rest of Rome. As you drink, you observe the other gladiators continuing their preparations. Each man follows routines specific to his fighting style and physical requirements. The retiarii practice with their nets and tridents, working on the speed and accuracy that their lightly armored style demands. The heavy fighters work with weights and practice weapons, building the strength needed to wield their massive equipment effectively. There's beauty in this preparation, a kind of deadly choreography as scores of men ready themselves for potential death. Each movement has purpose, each exercise serves the goal of survival and victory in the arena. It's perhaps the most focused and purposeful physical training in the ancient world, refined through generations of experience and competition. The training session concludes with a final period of weapons work, this time using actual combat weapons rather than practice equipment. The familiar weight of your real gladius feels perfect in your hand, balanced and deadly, an extension of your own will and skill. The shield settles onto your arm with the comfort of long association, its weight distributed exactly as your muscles expect. Quintus nods approval as you work through a final series of combinations. You're ready, he says simply. Fight smart, not just hard. Remember your training, trust your instincts, and give the crowd a show they'll remember. The old gladiator's words carry the weight of experience. He survived more than 40 arena contests before earning his freedom, a nearly impossible achievement that speaks to both exceptional skill and remarkable luck. His advice isn't just tactical but psychological, reminding you that confidence and mental preparation are as important as physical readiness. As the training session ends and you return your weapons to the armory for final preparation, your breathing naturally begins to slow and deepen. The physical exertion has left you warmed up and loose, muscles ready for action but not overtaxed. Your body feels like a perfectly tuned instrument, prepared for the performance of its lifetime. The morning's work is complete, but the day's real challenges still lie ahead. Soon, you'll don your armor and march into the arena to face an opponent equally skilled and equally determined to survive. But for now, there's time for rest and mental preparation, the quiet before the storm of combat that will determine whether you see another sunset. The Armory. The Ludus Armory is a place of reverence and practical necessity, where the tools of gladiatorial combat are maintained with the care and precision that life and death equipment demands. You enter this chamber with the same respect you might show a temple, which, in a sense, it is. Here, weapons and armor are prepared by master craftsmen who understand that inferior equipment means certain death for the warriors who depend on it. Gaius Armorius, the chief armorer, looks up from sharpening a gladius as you approach. He's a free man, paid handsomely for his expertise in creating and maintaining the finest fighting equipment in Rome. His skills are legendary among gladiators, and his approval of a weapon or piece of armor carries more weight than the opinion of any trainer or lanista. Marcus, he says, setting down his whetstone with careful precision. Your equipment is ready. I've made some adjustments based on your performance in the last bout. He leads you to your designated area, where your complete fighting kit has been laid out with military precision. The sight always gives you a moment of profound appreciation. These tools represent not just your means of survival, but the culmination of centuries of Roman metallurgy and military engineering. The armor goes on in a specific sequence, each piece fitting perfectly against your body like a second skin. First comes the subarmale, a padded undergarment that prevents chafing and provides additional protection against impact. The thick linen is comfortable against your skin, worn soft by years of use but still structurally sound. Next, the manica, articulated arm armor that protects your sword arm from shoulder to fingertips. Each segment is perfectly fitted to allow complete freedom of movement while providing maximum protection against slashing attacks. The metal is polished to a brilliant shine, not for vanity but because smooth surfaces deflect blows more effectively than rough ones. Your breathing adjusts naturally to the weight and restriction of the armor as each piece is added. Deep, controlled breaths that accommodate the slight limitation of the chest protection while ensuring maximum oxygen flow to muscles that will soon be called upon for supreme effort. The gallerus comes next, the distinctive shoulder guard that marks you as a murmillo. This curved piece of armor protects your left shoulder and neck, its polished surface designed to deflect the downward strikes that opponents often attempt. The weight settles comfortably across your shoulder, balanced by years of conditioning that have adapted your posture to accommodate its mass. Gaius checks each strap and buckle with professional thoroughness, ensuring that nothing will come loose during combat. A piece of armor shifting at the wrong moment can create a fatal opening, and his reputation depends on equipment that performs flawlessly under the most extreme conditions. The new leg greaves arrived from the foundry yesterday, he says, fitting the bronze protection around your left leg. Lighter than your old ones but just as strong. Should give you better mobility against a Thraex opponent. The greaves feel perfect, substantial protection that covers from knee to ankle without restricting movement. Your right leg remains unarmored, as is traditional for Murmillo gladiators, creating the asymmetrical protection that defines your fighting style. The Acria, your shin guard, fits over the greave with satisfying precision. Every piece of this equipment has been crafted specifically for your body measurements, adjusted and readjusted through years of use to achieve perfect fit and function. Mass-produced armor exists, but gladiators of your caliber receive custom equipment that can mean the difference between life and death. Finally comes the helmet, the chassis that will transform you from man into gladiator, hiding your identity behind the bronze and iron mask that the crowd expects to see. The helmet is perhaps the most important piece of your equipment, protecting your head and neck while creating the distinctive appearance that makes you instantly recognizable as a Murmillo. Gaius lowers the helmet carefully over your head, checking the fit around your skull and the positioning of the eye holes. Vision is critical in arena combat. A helmet that restricts sight can be a death sentence. The breathing holes are positioned to allow adequate airflow while maintaining structural integrity. Perfect, the armorer pronounces, stepping back to assess the complete ensemble. You look like Mars himself, ready for war. The comparison isn't entirely flattery. In your complete armor, you do resemble the artistic representations of the Roman war god, powerful, dangerous, and impressively martial. The transformation from ordinary man to gladiatorial warrior is now complete, at least externally. But the most important piece of equipment remains, your weapons. Gaius presents your gladius with ceremonial gravity, the blade gleaming with perfect sharpness. This isn't just a tool but a partner in survival, shaped and balanced specifically for your fighting style and physical characteristics. The sword feels alive in your hand, its weight perfectly distributed along the blade and handle. You perform a few practice cuts, feeling the weapon slice through air with deadly efficiency. The balance is flawless, allowing for both powerful strikes and precise thrusts with equal facility. Your scutum, the large rectangular shield that defines Murmillo combat, comes last. This piece of equipment is as much weapon as protection, its bronze boss capable of delivering devastating strikes, while its broad surface deflects enemy attacks. The shield has been painted with your personal insignia, a charging boar, symbol of courage and ferocity. With all equipment in place, you stand before a polished bronze mirror to see the complete transformation. The reflection shows not Marcus the man, but Marcus the gladiator, armored, armed, and ready for the arena. The psychological effect is as important as the physical protection. Wearing this equipment changes how you think, how you move, how you perceive yourself and your capabilities. Your breathing within the helmet takes on a different quality, filtered through the bronze face guard and echoing slightly within the enclosed space. The sound is both alien and familiar, a reminder of the barrier between your human self and the warrior persona that the arena demands. Gaius makes final adjustments, tightening straps and checking connections with the obsessive attention to detail that has made him legendary among gladiators. His work is nearly finished, but these last moments are crucial. Equipment failure in the arena means death, and his reputation depends on perfection. Remember, he says as he completes his inspection, the Thraex will try to get inside your shield work. With that curved sword, use your reach advantage, keep him at gladius distance, and don't let him get behind that big shield of yours. The tactical advice is welcome. Gaius has equipped gladiators for hundreds of battles and understands the strengths and weaknesses of every fighting style better than most trainers. His insights, based on observing countless arena contests, can provide the edge that makes the difference between victory and death. As you prepare to leave the armory, fully equipped and ready for combat, your breathing settles into the rhythm that will carry you through the next few hours. Deep and controlled, oxygenating muscles while maintaining the calm focus that arena fighting requires. The weight of your equipment feels natural now, distributed across your body in the way that years of training have conditioned you to accept. You are ready. The transformation from man to gladiator is complete, and the arena awaits. The march to glory. The sound that signals the approach of combat echoes through the ludus, trumpets playing the martial tunes that announce gladiatorial games to the city of Rome. From every corner of the training complex, fully armed and armored fighters begin moving toward the tunnel that leads to the Flavian Amphitheater, the greatest arena in the world. You join the procession, your equipment making the distinctive sounds of professional warriors in motion. The creak of leather, the soft chime of metal against metal, the measured footsteps of men walking toward potential death with dignity and purpose. Around you, fellow gladiators maintain the focused silence that combat requires, each man lost in his own mental preparations. The tunnel that leads from the ludus to the amphitheater is perhaps 200 yards long, carved through solid rock and lined with stone blocks. Walking through it feels like passing from one world to another, from the relatively private space of training and preparation to the most public venue in the Roman Empire, where your skills and courage will be judged by 50,000 spectators. Your breathing echoes differently within your helmet as you walk, creating a rhythm that matches your steady pace. In and out, controlled and deep, preparing your body for the supreme physical challenge. Ahead while keeping your mind calm and focused. The sound becomes almost meditative, a constant background that helps maintain psychological equilibrium. Ahead of you walks Brutus the Thracian, a veteran whose survival of more than 30 arena battles has made him legendary among gladiators. His presence is reassuring. If a man can survive that many contests, skill and intelligence matter more than luck in determining outcomes. Behind you, younger fighters fidget nervously with their equipment, their inexperience showing in small gestures of anxiety. The tunnel walls are covered with graffiti left by generations of gladiators, names, prayers to various gods, messages of defiance or resignation. Some of the inscriptions are famous throughout the ludus, created by warriors whose arena careers became legendary. Others are simple statements of presence. Marcus was here, carved by men who died that same day. As you pass one particular section of wall, you notice fresh carvings still pale against the darker stone. Fortune favors the bold, Gaius, before his 5th contest. You know Gaius won that fight and 2 more after it before retiring to become a trainer. His words carry the weight of experience and survival. The end of the tunnel approaches, marked by increasing brightness and the growing sound of the crowd already assembled in the amphitheater above. 50,000 voices create a background roar like distant ocean waves, rising and falling as the preliminary entertainments capture and release their attention. At the tunnel's end, gladiators are organized into their fighting order for the day's program. A lanista official checks each man's equipment and confirms his assigned bout, ensuring that the afternoon's entertainment will proceed according to the careful schedule that keeps crowds satisfied and officials happy. Marcus the Gaul, the official announces, consulting his wax tablet, 3rd contest of the afternoon. Matched against Spartacus the Thracian. Standard rules, crowd decision on mercy. Spartacus. You know him by reputation, a skilled fighter with 7 arena victories and a fighting style that emphasizes speed and unpredictable attacks. He's younger than you by perhaps 5 years, but experienced enough to be dangerous. The matchup should provide the kind of evenly balanced contest that crowds find most entertaining. The wait begins now, as gladiators scheduled for later bouts must endure the psychological pressure of listening to earlier contests while preparing for their own moments in the sand. You settle into a comfortable stance, conserving energy while maintaining the mental focus that arena combat requires. Through the tunnel opening, you can see a slice of the arena floor, brilliant white sand imported from Egypt, raked smooth and marked with the dark stains that tell of morning contests already concluded. The sight is both familiar and intimidating, a reminder of the stage where your skills and courage will soon be tested before the largest audience in the ancient world. Your breathing continues its steady rhythm within the confines of your helmet. The sound has become a kind of anchor, something constant and controlled in a situation where so many variables remain unknown. Each inhalation brings oxygen to muscles that will soon be called upon for maximum effort. Each exhalation releases tension that could interfere with performance. Around you, other gladiators employ their own methods of mental preparation. Some pray silently to their chosen deities, lips moving behind bronze face guards. Others practice weapon forms in miniature, their hands making tiny movements that rehearse the techniques that might save their lives. A few simply stand in motionless concentration, conserving both physical and mental energy for the trials ahead. The crowd's roar suddenly swells, indicating that the current contest has reached its climax. Cheers and boos mingle in the complex audio signature of Roman entertainment, approval for skillful combat, disappointment at anticlimactic endings, the bloodthirsty enthusiasm for spectacular violence that characterizes amphitheater crowds. Then relative quiet, as the arena is cleared and prepared for the next bout. Your time approaches with each passing moment, bringing both the danger of potential death and the opportunity for the kind of glory that only arena victory can provide. Soon, very soon, you will walk into that brilliant sunlight and face an opponent equally skilled and equally determined to survive. The anticipation builds like physical pressure, but your training and experience provide the tools to manage it constructively. Fear transformed into heightened awareness, anxiety channeled into physical readiness, the natural human response to mortal danger refined through years of professional preparation. You are ready. Your equipment is perfect, your body prepared, your mind focused. Whatever happens in the sand of the arena, you will face it with the skill and courage that have carried you through 6 previous contests. The crowd awaits, your opponent prepares, and soon the ultimate test of gladiatorial combat will begin once more. Into the arena. The official's voice cuts through the tunnel's tense atmosphere. Marcus the Gaul, Spartacus the Thracian. You're up? The moment has arrived with the suddenness that always characterizes arena combat, all the preparation and anticipation condensed into a single command that transforms waiting into action. You and your opponent move together toward the tunnel opening, 2 warriors about to engage in mortal combat but bound momentarily by the shared understanding of what lies ahead. Spartacus nods respectfully as you walk side by side, the acknowledgement of one professional to another before they attempt to kill each other for the entertainment of Rome. The brightness hits you first as you emerge from the tunnel into the arena proper. After the dim stone corridors, the brilliant sunlight reflecting off white sand is almost overwhelming. Your eyes adjust quickly, trained by years of experience to adapt rapidly to changing visual conditions. The arena floor stretches before you, unmarked except for the dark stains that tell of previous contests. Then comes the sound, 50,000 voices raised in the particular roar that greets gladiatorial combat. The noise is physical, almost solid in its intensity, washing over you like a wave of pure human energy. This is what separates arena fighting from any other form of combat, the presence of an enormous audience whose approval or disapproval can mean the difference between life and death. Your breathing adjusts to the overwhelming sensory input, staying deep and controlled despite the adrenaline surge that naturally accompanies emergence into the arena. The sound of your own breath within the helmet becomes an anchor of familiarity in this most extraordinary of human experiences. You and Spartacus walk toward the center of the arena, where the afternoon's referee waits to oversee your contest. The sand feels familiar beneath your feet, similar to the training grounds but somehow different, charged with the significance of real combat. Each step brings you closer to the moment when talking and preparation end and only skill, strength, and fortune matter. The crowd's noise shifts and changes as spectators recognize you both. Marcus comes from one section, supporters who have followed your career and wagered money on your victory. Thraex answers from another area, where Spartacus's distinctive fighting style has earned him his own following. At the arena's center, you and your opponent halt 10 paces apart and turn toward the Imperial Box, where today's game's sponsor sits in elaborate robes of office. The ritual salute must be performed correctly, not just for ceremony's sake, but because proper respect for authority is part of the social contract that makes gladiatorial combat acceptable to Roman society. Ave, Imperator, you shout in unison with Spartacus, Morituri te salutant. Hail, Emperor. Those who are about to die salute you. The words echo across the arena, picked up and amplified by the crowd's response. Whether you will actually die today remains to be seen, but the formal acknowledgement of that possibility is part of the ritual that transforms killing into sport. The official raises his staff to signal the beginning of combat. Fight well, fight bravely, and may the gods favor the worthy, he announces before stepping back to the arena's edge. Now you and Spartacus are alone in the center of the vast space, 2 men armed and armored for mortal combat, surrounded by the largest audience in the ancient world. You circle each other warily, shields raised, weapons ready, each man assessing his opponent's stance and movement for clues about his intended tactics. Spartacus moves with the fluid grace characteristic of Thracian fighters, his smaller shield and curved sword allowing for faster attacks but providing less protection than your heavier equipment. Your own movement is more measured, conserving energy while maintaining perfect defensive position. The Murmillo style emphasizes patience and powerful counterattacks, using the large shield to absorb enemy strikes while waiting for opportunities to deliver devastating responses with the straight gladius. The crowd grows quiet as the initial circling continues, spectators understanding that this phase of combat requires concentration and that premature cheering might distract the fighters. Professional gladiatorial contests are appreciated for their technical skill as much as their violence, and knowledgeable fans recognize the subtle interplay of tactics that precedes actual weapon contact. Spartacus makes the first move, a quick thrust with his sicca aimed at the gap between your shield and shoulder armor. You turn the attack with practiced efficiency, angling your scutum to deflect the curved blade while stepping forward to close distance for a counterattack. The clash of metal on metal rings across the arena, the first note in what may be a long composition of combat music. Your gladius seeks his exposed ribs, but Spartacus is no longer there, his lighter equipment allowing him to dance away from your strike while repositioning for another attack. This is the classic Myrmillothraics. Dynamic, power and protection versus speed and agility, each style seeking to impose its advantages, while negating the opponent's strengths. The pace increases as both fighters warm to their work, weapons moving in deadly arcs that create patterns of attack and defense recognizable to experienced arena watchers. Your breathing remains controlled despite the increasing physical demands, the rhythm of combat matching the deeper rhythm of your respiratory system. Spartacus attempts a low attack, his curved sword seeking the unarmored portion of your right leg. You drop your shield to block while simultaneously striking downward with your gladius, forcing him to abort his attack and leap backward. The exchanges are becoming faster and more intense as both fighters probe for weaknesses in each other's defense. The crowd begins to respond more actively as the combat intensifies, cheers and encouragement rising from different sections of the amphitheater as supporters of each fighter react to successful attacks and defensive moves. The noise becomes part of the combat environment, adding psychological pressure that must be managed along with the physical demands of fighting. A particularly aggressive exchange brings you and Spartacus into close contact, shields locked together as each man tries to create an opening for a decisive strike. For a moment, you can see his eyes through the slots in his helmet, focused, determined, showing neither fear nor hatred but the professional concentration of a skilled fighter doing his job. Then you break apart, weapons singing as they scrape against each other, both fighters seeking distance to reassess and plan their next approach. The sand beneath your feet is beginning to show the marks of combat, scuffed areas where rapid footwork has disturbed the smooth surface, dark spots where sweat has begun to drip from both contestants. This is gladiatorial combat at its finest, two skilled professionals employing years of training and experience in a contest that demands everything they possess. The crowd recognizes the quality of the fighting, their cheers becoming more appreciative and less bloodthirsty as technical skill takes precedence over simple violence. Your equipment feels perfect now, each piece functioning exactly as intended while your body has found its optimal rhythm for this particular opponent and situation. The weight of armor and weapons has become negligible, absorbed into the total system of trained reflexes and conditioned responses that define elite gladiatorial skill. The contest continues, neither fighter yet gaining decisive advantage, both seeking the opening that will allow for a finishing attack. In the sand of the arena, surrounded by the roar of 50,000 spectators, you dance the ancient dance of warriors, where skill and courage meet in the most fundamental of human contests. The moment of truth. The rhythm of combat has found its natural pace now, a deadly dance where both fighters have settled into the patterns that their training and experience dictate. You and Spartacus circle each other with the focused intensity of apex predators, each seeking the moment of opportunity that could end the contest. In a single decisive exchange, your breathing within the helmet has synchronized perfectly with your movements, each inhalation providing oxygen for muscles working at peak capacity, each exhalation timed with strikes and defensive moves. The sound creates a meditative background that helps maintain focus despite the overwhelming sensory input of arena combat. Spartacus attempts a deceptive combination, a high thrust toward your face mask followed immediately by a low cut at your unarmored leg. You read the deception correctly, dropping your shield to block the low attack while simultaneously bringing your gladius up to threaten his exposed sword arm. The counter forces him to abandon his combination and reset his position. The exchange draws appreciative roars from the crowd, who recognize the technical skill displayed by both fighters. This is what they've paid to see, not simple slaughter, but the highest level of combat expertise employed in life-or-death competition. The noise washes over you without penetrating your concentration, another element of the arena environment that you've learned to process without distraction. As the combat continues, small advantages begin to accumulate. Your reach with the gladius is slightly greater than Spartacus's with his curved sicca, allowing you to threaten him while staying just outside his optimal striking distance. But his superior mobility lets him choose the timing and angle of engagements, preventing you from fully exploiting your weapon's advantages. A moment of overextension, Spartacus commits too fully to an attack that you successfully parry, leaving him momentarily off balance. Your counterattack with the shield boss catches him in the chest, not hard enough to cause serious damage but sufficient to knock him backward and create space for a follow-up strike. Your gladius moves in a perfect thrust toward his exposed torso, but Spartacus demonstrates the skill that has kept him alive through 7 previous contests. He turns sideways while falling backward, your blade passing through the space where his body had been an instant before. He hits the sand rolling and comes up ready to continue fighting, his recovery drawing admiring shouts from spectators who appreciate defensive skill as much as aggressive attack. The near miss energizes both fighters, raising the intensity of the contest as each man realizes how narrow the margin between victory and defeat really is. Your equipment feels weightless now, adrenaline and training combining to create the state of enhanced performance that represents gladiatorial combat. At its highest level, Spartacus changes tactics, becoming more aggressive as he seeks to press his mobility advantage before fatigue begins to favor your heavier armor and conditioning. His attacks come faster now, forcing you to rely more heavily on your shield work while looking for opportunities to counter with the devastating power that the gladius can deliver. The crowd senses the increasing urgency of the combat, their voices rising to match the acceleration of the action in the arena. Every successful attack draws cheers, every narrow escape gasps of appreciation. You've become the center of attention for 50,000 people, each of whom has invested emotionally in the outcome of your struggle. Your training with Quintus pays dividends now as you employ the defensive techniques that have been drilled into muscle memory through countless hours of practice. Shield work becomes automatic, freeing your conscious mind to focus on reading Spartacus's intentions and planning your own offensive moves. Then it happens, the moment that gladiatorial combat always builds toward. Spartacus attempts an elaborate feint designed to draw your shield out of position for a killing thrust. But your experience reading opponents allows you to recognize the deception, and instead of falling for the feint, you time a perfect counterattack. Your gladius finds the gap between his shoulder armor and helmet, the point penetrating just deep enough to draw blood without causing mortal injury. Spartacus staggers, more from surprise than actual damage, but the wound is visible to the crowd, and according to gladiatorial convention, first blood often signals the beginning of the end. The arena erupts in noise as spectators react to this decisive moment. Some cheer your success, others encourage Spartacus to continue fighting, but all recognize that the contest has reached its critical phase. Blood in the sand means that mercy or death will soon be decided. Spartacus, to his credit, doesn't surrender or appeal for mercy. Instead, he attacks with renewed ferocity, knowing that his only chance now lies in ending the fight quickly before blood loss weakens him further. His desperate assault tests your defensive skills to their limits, the curved sicca moving in complex patterns, designed to find some gap in your protection. But desperation, while it can inspire great effort, can also lead to mistakes. Spartacus overcommits to a particularly aggressive attack, leaving himself exposed for the fraction of a second that elite gladiatorial training teaches you to exploit. Your gladius moves with practiced precision, finding the opening and delivering a thrust that penetrates deeply enough to end the contest. Spartacus drops his weapon and falls to his knees, one hand pressed against the wound that has decided his fate. His helmet turns toward you in a gesture of acknowledgement, warrior recognizing warrior. Professional respect maintained even in defeat. The crowd's roar reaches crescendo levels as they witness the conclusion of a skillfully fought contest. But the fight isn't over yet. Gladiatorial tradition requires that the crowd decide whether the defeated fighter deserves mercy or death, and you must await their verdict while standing over your fallen opponent. This moment of suspended judgment is perhaps the most intense of all arena experiences, where the will of 50,000 spectators determines whether a man lives or dies. You stand ready to deliver the killing blow if the crowd demands it, but hoping for the thumbs-up gesture. That signals mercy for a brave opponent who fought with skill and honor. Spartacus has earned respect through his performance, and your own code of professional ethics hopes he will be allowed to live and fight again. The crowd's response will come in moments, their collective judgment determining not just Spartacus's fate but adding another victory to your own record of arena survival. Win or lose, you have fought with the skill and courage that defines elite gladiatorial combat, proving once again why you have survived, where others have perished in the sand. Victory and its weight. The crowd's verdict comes not in words but in the ancient gesture that decides life and death in the arena. Thousands of thumbs turning upward in the signal for mercy. The roar that accompanies this decision carries notes of appreciation for both fighters' skill and recognition that Spartacus fought with enough courage to deserve continued life. You lower your gladius, the decision made by forces beyond your control but welcomed by your own sense of warrior's honor. Spartacus has proven himself a worthy opponent, and his survival means the gladiatorial community retains a skilled fighter rather than losing another victim to the sand's endless hunger for blood. Spartacus looks up from his kneeling position, his eyes visible through his helmet's eye slits showing relief, mixed with gratitude. "Well fought, Marcus," he says quietly, his voice carrying despite the crowd's continued cheering. "I owe you a debt." "You owe me nothing," you reply, extending your hand to help him to his feet. "You fought with honor. That's all any gladiator can do." This exchange, brief as it is, represents one of the aspects of gladiatorial culture that outsiders rarely understand. Despite being forced to fight for others' entertainment, professional gladiators develop codes of honor and mutual respect that elevate their combat above simple violence. Men who face death regularly understand its value in ways that spectators never can. The arena physician and his assistants rush onto the sand to attend to Spartacus's wound, their presence another reminder that gladiatorial games, for all their violence, operate according to rules and procedures designed to preserve valuable fighters when possible. Dead gladiators can't fight again, and living ones represent continuing investments for their owners. You perform the traditional victory circuit around the arena's perimeter, acknowledging the crowd's applause and allowing them to see the victor up close. Your equipment catches the afternoon sunlight, polished bronze and iron gleaming as you raise shield and sword in acknowledgement of their appreciation. This ritual is as important as the fighting itself. The crowd needs to celebrate victory as much as fighters need to achieve it. Palm branches are thrown into the arena, symbols of victory that successful gladiators collect as tangible proof of their achievements. You gather several, their green fronds a pleasant contrast to the harsh environment of sand and stone. These symbols will be displayed in the ludus as evidence of your continued success and growing reputation. Prize money follows the palm branches, small leather purses thrown by wealthy spectators who particularly enjoyed your performance. The coins inside aren't enormous sums, but they represent additional income beyond what your lanista provides for victory. Successful gladiators can actually accumulate significant wealth over time, though few survive long enough to retire and enjoy it. As you complete the victory circuit, your breathing begins to return to normal patterns after the intense exertion of combat. The adrenaline that sustained peak performance during the fight now dissipates gradually, leaving you aware of minor injuries and the accumulated fatigue of sustained physical effort. Your body feels both triumphant and exhausted, the natural aftermath of successful combat. The crowd begins to disperse as preparations begin for the next contest on the afternoon's program. Your moment in the spotlight ends as attention shifts to other fighters and other matches. This is the nature of gladiatorial fame, intense but brief, brilliant but fleeting, dependent entirely on continued success in the arena. You make your way back toward the tunnel entrance, prize money and palm branches tucked securely into your equipment. Behind you, fresh sand is being spread over the areas disturbed by your combat, and the blood that marked your victory disappears beneath clean white grains imported from Egypt. The arena prepares for the next act in its endless drama of life and death. In the tunnel, other gladiators await their own turns in the sand. They nod respectfully as you pass. Acknowledgement of successful combat and safe return from the arena's dangers. Some call out, "Congratulations," others simply gesture their approval. All understand what you've accomplished and what it means for your continued survival in this deadly profession. The walk back to the ludus feels different from your earlier march to the arena. Victory changes everything: your status within the gladiatorial community, your value to the lanista, your own confidence in your ability to survive future contests. Each step takes you further from the intensity of arena combat and closer to the relative safety of the training complex. Your equipment, which felt weightless during the fight, now seems heavier as adrenaline fades and normal physical awareness returns. The helmet's confines feel more restrictive, the armor's weight more noticeable. These are the natural consequences of returning from peak performance to ordinary consciousness, the body's honest response to extraordinary demands. But underneath the fatigue and returning awareness of equipment weight lies a deep satisfaction, the Knowledge that you have once again proven your worth in the ultimate test of skill and courage. Victory in the arena validates all the training, all the sacrifice, all the risks that define gladiatorial life. You have fought and won, survived and thrived, earned both money and respect through professional excellence. As you approach the Ludus entrance, you can already hear the news of your victory spreading through the complex. Fellow gladiators, trainers, and staff members are learning the outcome of your contest, adding another chapter to your growing legend within this community of warriors. Success breeds respect, and respect creates the social bonds that make this harsh life bearable. Soon you'll remove your armor, clean your weapons, and tend to the minor injuries that combat inevitably inflicts. But for now, in these moments of transition between the arena's intensity and the Ludus's relative peace, you allow yourself to simply breathe deeply and appreciate what you've accomplished. Another victory. Another day survived. Another step forward in the deadly career that defines your existence in this strange corner of the Roman Empire, where slaves can become celebrities and courage can literally pay for continued life. The victor's rest. The armory welcomes you back with its familiar smells of oil, leather, and polished metal, scents that now carry additional meaning after your successful return from the arena. Gaius Armorius looks up from his work as you enter, his experienced eye immediately assessing your condition and the state of your equipment. Clean victory, he observes with satisfaction, noting the minimal damage to your armor and weapons. Your equipment performed well? Perfectly, you reply, beginning the careful process of removing your combat gear. The new greaves made all the difference, better mobility without sacrificing protection. The armorer nods approvingly as he helps you with the more difficult fastenings. His reputation depends on equipment performance under the most extreme conditions, and your survival and success reflect well on his craftsmanship. Each piece of armor is examined as it comes off, checked for damage that might require repair before your next arena appearance. The removal process is almost as ritualized as putting the equipment on, each piece coming off in reverse order and receiving immediate attention. The helmet comes first, lifted carefully to avoid disturbing the padding that has protected your skull from impact. The cool air against your face feels wonderful after hours of breathing filtered air within the bronze confines. Your breathing naturally deepens as the helmet's restrictions are removed, lungs expanding fully for the first time since donning your combat gear. The sensation is almost euphoric, fresh air flowing freely through your nose and mouth, no longer constrained by the breathing holes and internal structure of the chassis. The manica follows, each segment of armor removed and examined for dents or damage that might affect future performance. Your sword arm feels strange without its metallic shell, lighter and more vulnerable but also more naturally mobile. The transition from armored gladiator back to ordinary man progresses with each piece of equipment set aside. As the armor comes off, the full extent of the afternoon's exertion becomes apparent. Your undergarment is soaked with sweat despite the relatively cool weather, and small bruises are beginning to appear where armor edges pressed against your body during particularly intense moments of combat. These minor injuries are badges of honor, proof of combat survived and victory achieved. Gaius provides a basin of fresh water for washing, understanding that gladiators prefer to clean themselves immediately after combat rather than carrying the arena's dust and sweat any longer than necessary. The water is wonderfully cool against your overheated skin, washing away not just physical residue but some of the psychological intensity that clings to successful warriors. Spartacus fought well, the armorer comments as you wash. Word is already spreading through the complex about the quality of the contest. The crowd appreciated skillful fighting over mere butchery. This news is gratifying. Professional recognition from knowledgeable observers means more than simple victory. Gladiatorial culture values technical excellence and courageous fighting as much as winning, and your reputation within the community will benefit from this afternoon's demonstration of both skills. Clean and dressed in simple tunic and sandals, you feel the pleasant fatigue that follows successful physical exertion. Your muscles ache in the specific ways that indicate hard work well done rather than injury or strain. Tomorrow will bring some stiffness, but tonight there's only the satisfaction of peak performance rewarded with victory. The prize money from your arena circuit creates a pleasant weight in the leather purse at your belt, not enormous wealth, but enough to purchase small luxuries that make gladiatorial life more bearable. Better quality wine, perhaps, or materials for writing letters to distant friends who still remember your life before enslavement. Your weapons receive final attention before being stored until the next training session. The gladius is Cleaned thoroughly, its blade examined for nicks or damage that might affect future performance. Finding none, you oil it carefully and wrap it in its protective leather covering. This sword has served you faithfully through 7 arena contests now, becoming almost an extension of your own will and skill. The shield receives similar attention, its bronze boss polished to remove combat scuffs and its wooden frame checked for structural damage. The painted board that serves as your personal insignia has acquired a few new scratches, battle scars that add character rather than detracting from the design's impact. As you complete these post-combat rituals, your breathing settles into the slower rhythm of evening relaxation. The intense focus required for arena fighting gradually dissipates, replaced by the peaceful awareness that comes with duties fulfilled and dangers survived. Your body knows that it can now stand down from peak alertness and begin the process of recovery. The ludus around you has taken on the particular atmosphere that follows successful arena days, a mixture of relief, celebration, and renewed camaraderie among gladiators who have faced death and returned to tell the tale. Conversations are more animated, laughter comes more easily, and the bonds of shared experience feel stronger than usual. Fellow gladiators stop by to offer congratulations as word of your victory spreads through the complex. Each acknowledgement reinforces your status within this unusual community, where respect is earned through courage and skill rather than birth or wealth. Your successful return from the arena elevates your position among men who understand exactly what such success requires. As evening approaches, you make your way to your cell with the slow, satisfied pace of someone who has completed important work successfully. The familiar stone walls and simple furnishings welcome you back to private space where you can exist as yourself rather than as a public performer in history's deadliest entertainment. The small clay figurine of Nemesis still sits beside your bed, exactly where you left it this morning before beginning the day's preparations. You touch it briefly in thanks, whether to the goddess herself or simply to the psychological comfort that ritual provides. You're not entirely certain. Gratitude feels appropriate, regardless of its exact target. Your bed has never felt more welcoming than it does tonight, as you settle onto the straw mattress with the deep tiredness that follows both physical exertion and emotional intensity. Victory in the arena creates its own form of exhaustion, relief, satisfaction, and the gradual release of tension that has been building throughout the day. Tomorrow will bring return to normal routines, training, maintenance of equipment, preparation for future contests. But tonight belongs to rest and reflection, to processing the experiences of another successful encounter with the ultimate test of gladiatorial skill and courage. Evening reflections. As darkness settles over the ludus and the sounds of Rome gradually diminish to their nighttime levels, you find yourself in that quiet space between the day's achievements and tomorrow's unknown challenges. Your cell, simple as it is, feels like a sanctuary after the public intensity of arena combat and the social demands of post-victory celebration. The oil lamp beside your bed casts dancing shadows on the stone walls, creating patterns that shift and change like the thoughts moving through your mind. The flame's gentle light feels soothing after the harsh brilliance of the arena's sun-baked sand, offering illumination without the overwhelming intensity of public performance. Your body has settled into the deep relaxation that follows extreme physical exertion successfully concluded. Muscles that were tensed for combat now release their careful vigilance, allowing the natural processes of recovery and restoration to begin. The minor aches and stiffness are reminders of work well done rather than sources of real discomfort. On the small table beside your bed, you arrange the day's tangible rewards, the palm branches that symbolize victory, the coins that represent monetary appreciation, and the intangible but equally valuable addition to your reputation within the gladiatorial community. Each item tells part of the story of this afternoon's success. Your breathing has found its natural evening rhythm, slower and deeper than the controlled patterns required for combat or training. Each inhalation brings cool night air that carries the familiar sense of the ludus, oil, leather, stone, and the indefinable smell of a place where men live closely together in pursuit of dangerous excellence. The day's events replay themselves in your memory, not with the obsessive intensity of anxiety but with the professional assessment that helps improve future performance. The early recognition of Spartacus's deceptive attack, the successful counter that drew first blood, the crowd's appreciation for skillful combat. Each moment offers lessons that can be applied to future contests. This mental review serves multiple purposes beyond simple reminiscence. By analyzing each exchange objectively, you identify techniques that worked well in moments where different choices might have produced even better results. Gladiatorial survival depends on continuous improvement, and every contest provides data for refining skills and tactics. But tonight's reflections extend beyond technical assessment to deeper questions about the nature of the life you've chosen, or that has chosen you. Another victory means another day of continued existence. Another opportunity to pursue whatever goals remain possible within the constraints of gladiatorial slavery. The paradoxes of your situation remain as complex as ever. You're simultaneously slave and celebrity, valuable property and respected warrior, entertainment and artist. The crowd that cheered your victory this afternoon would be equally entertained by your death in a future contest, yet their appreciation for your skill is genuine within its own limited context. These contradictions no longer trouble you as they did in your early days in the Ludus. Experience has taught you to accept the world as it is rather than as it should be, to find meaning and purpose within circumstances that you cannot completely control. Survival itself becomes a form of victory when death is the most common alternative. From your small wooden chest, you retrieve the leather-bound journal where you record thoughts and observations about gladiatorial life. The writing helps process experiences that few people in history have shared, creating a record of what this extraordinary existence actually feels like from the inside. Tonight's entry begins with the basic facts: opponent, outcome, crowd reaction, prize money earned. But it continues with reflections on the moment when Spartacus acknowledged your skill even in defeat, the weight of the crowd's decision about mercy, the strange mixture of exhaustion and satisfaction that follows successful arena combat. Writing by lamplight, you find words for experiences that resist easy description. How do you explain the focus that arena fighting requires, where awareness must encompass weapon positions, footing, opponents' intentions, crowd reactions, and personal energy levels all simultaneously? How do you describe the moment when 50,000 people hold their breath waiting for your next move? The act of writing itself is meditative, the scratch of stylus against wax tablet creating a rhythm that matches your breathing and heartbeat. The physical process of forming letters and words helps organize thoughts that might otherwise remain chaotic, imposing structure on experiences that challenge normal categories of understanding. As you write, the lamp flame flickers occasionally in drafts that find their way through gaps in the stone construction. The movement creates momentary changes in the light patterns on your walls, reminders of the world's constant change and the impermanence of all situations, including your own. Outside your cell, the Ludus settles into its nighttime routines. Distant conversations gradually fade as men seek their rest, guards take their positions for the night watch, and the complex assumes the quieter rhythm of hours when training and preparation give way to recovery and renewal. Your journal entry concludes with thoughts about tomorrow and the days beyond, training sessions that will maintain and improve your skills, equipment maintenance that will keep your tools in perfect condition, the gradual preparation for future arena appearances that may come sooner than expected if your growing reputation continues to attract attention from game sponsors. But such planning exists in the future, while tonight belongs to rest and reflection. You close the journal and return it to its place in the chest, then extinguish the lamp with a gentle breath that sends the cell into darkness, illuminated only by moonlight filtering through the high window. Lying on your bed, you feel your body settling into complete relaxation for the first time since awakening this morning. The straw mattress supports you comfortably, the woolen blanket provides warmth against the night air, and the familiar sounds of the sleeping Ludus create a peaceful background for approaching rest. Your breathing deepens naturally as consciousness begins its gradual transition toward sleep. Each exhalation carries away some portion of the day's intensity, each inhalation brings you closer to the restorative oblivion that will prepare you for tomorrow's challenges. Dreams, when they come, might bring memories of combat or visions of possible futures. Sometimes you dream of your homeland in Gaul, of the free life that ended when Roman legions conquered your village. Other times you dream of arena victories so decisive that they earn the ultimate prize, the wooden sword that symbolizes freedom and retirement from gladiatorial combat. But tonight, as sleep takes hold, your dreams are peaceful, visions of skill rewarded, courage recognized, and the deep satisfaction that comes from meeting extreme challenges with professional excellence. Your breathing becomes even slower and more rhythmic as consciousness fades, carrying you toward the restoration that successful warriors have earned throughout history. The Roman gladiators' work continues through the empire's long nights, but for now there is only sleep. Only the gentle rhythm of recovery, only the peaceful surrender to rest's ancient promise of renewal for those who have faced death and returned to tell the tale. Sleep comes easily now, deep and restorative, preparing body and spirit for whatever tomorrow may demand. Victory in the arena has earned this rest, and you embrace it with the gratitude of someone who understands exactly how precious continued existence truly is. Breathe deeply, rest completely, and let consciousness drift away into the healing darkness where gladiators dream of glory and wake to face another day in the deadliest profession the ancient world has ever known.